All right, so thanks for having us. I'm going to give you a little background about our company and why we're actually able to be up here. Our team, we started actually here at Red Wing Ignite. This was the first out-of-home office that we had. We started in the co-working space, and we've since grown to a team of 6, and we're still growing, and now we've got a newly remodeled studio out at the Anderson Center. So we still keep our membership here, we still support Red Wing Ignite, and we still like to be a part of the community here. So there's a bunch of different businesses that we work with, from international manufacturing all the way down to small retail mom and pop shops. And so the reason that we even put this slide up there is just to show that we've got a really wide level of experience. And so all the stuff that we're talking about tonight, we have touch points and real world experience with really large scale stuff and then also really small scale stuff as well. Services, basically just kind of, we do just about everything that touches the internet. So marketing and strategy. So how many people are new businesses or starting a new business or just getting a handle on marketing? Got a few? Okay. Marketing is one of those, and marketing and advertising, I should say, is one of those categories that when times start getting a little rough, it slides over into the expense category, you know? And what we're going to talk about here is that how vital it is to have something, whether it's stuff that you do in-house or something that you pay somebody else to do, to keep that going. And so to kind of set the stage a little bit, back in the day, advertising used to be really, really easy. You'd get an ad in the newspaper, the TV, the radio, and the yellow pages, and customers poured in. That was all you had to do. It was super easy. Well, things have changed a little bit, and while some of those traditional mediums still have a place in today's advertising world, most of the newer consumers, the millennials and the younger families that are a prime target of a lot of businesses, have migrated to a lot of these other platforms. They consume their news online. Their TV is on 1,500 different types of devices: smart TVs, smart apps, Netflix, Hulu, Disney, HBO. I mean, everybody's got their own streaming service now. Radio has really gone to Spotify and Pandora. There's a lot of local listeners that still hold true to their local radio, but a lot of the younger listeners are really migrating to the streaming platforms. And then Yellow Pages has all been replaced by Google. So these are some of the new habits that we kind of, as businesses, have to accept. This is the new landscape, and we have to just be aware that this is where consumers are. And so for the small business owner, it can kind of look like this is what it's like to be online. Any small business owner will tell you, and I'll even tell you, that you get called on by like 50 different reps or 50 different Yellow Pages or 50 different Yelp experts or Google experts or whomever. There's just a ton of them. And a lot of local businesses can feel like, holy crap, where do I start, you know? And so the next slide, we're going to talk about kind of how to simplify some of this. But it is important to keep in mind that the internet's a pretty big place, and there's a lot of places out there. We're going to go over kind of the main ones that you need to cover, you should cover, and should have a presence on. But we want to kind of take away the overwhelming part of it. So we have 3 areas that we put all of our marketing efforts into. And it's really not a wise idea to put all of your efforts into any one bucket, right? Every salesperson out there will tell you, oh, well, you got to put it in Google Ads. Put it in more money in Google Ads, and that'll fix your problem. But it really is a sweet spot in between the 3. So always start with your owned properties. These are the things that you control. If you stop paying for them, or if you stop paying for paid advertising, you still have them, like your website. Once you build it, you have it. You have to pay for your hosting and stuff like that, but you don't have to continually invest in that to have it. An email list, once you build that email list, you have it. Nobody can kind of take it away from you, unless you're violating spamming laws. Then you get yourself in trouble. Social media following, content, you know, if you're creating content, all of that stuff you kind of own in a sense. Technically don't own the social media platform, but once you build up that equity, you have a profile that's worth something. Paid media, there is a ton of paid media. We'll go over some of the popular channels, but what you'll usually see is Google, PPC stands for pay per click. It's Google ads. You pay every time somebody clicks on your ad at the top of the search listings. Display ads are banner ads that you'll see all across the web, and we'll talk about a few different varieties of those. Retargeting is technically a display ad, and then social ads. We'll talk about why social ads, along with social posting, is an important strategy. We include ads in everything that we do. And then earned media is one that's often overlooked. This is when people take and review your information, review your business, they share your posts, they share your information. There is entire companies that build up and fall based off of Amazon reviews, how well their product is reviewed. And so there's Amazon consultants out there that'll tell you once you get to a certain number of reviews, then all of a sudden you have the visibility that you need to start moving product. And so one area to keep in mind of your reviews is on Google. The Google My Business listing will have reviews. We collect all of our reviews for our company and put them on Google because at the end of the day, it's one of the factors that go into how high you show up in search results. So, but we'll cover all those in details. But in this slide, just keep in mind that there's a combination of 3 different things that you should be doing, and you should be doing something in all 3, right? Rather than just one or the other. Websites, we're going to start off with some owned media. Believe it or not, there are still some really ugly websites on the internet. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one, but they are out there. And so aside from design, there are some really important functionality items that you have to have. Responsive design, anybody familiar with that? I know you are, Bo. Responsive design is when you go to a website, the website automatically changes shape and size based on the device that you go to. So if you go to it on a desktop, it'll be this big. If you go on a tablet, all the same information, same content, same images displays this. That's Google's preferred method of design. Google Analytics is an analytics software that allows you to track the performance of your website. How many people are coming to your website, where they're coming from, where they're located, if they called you or sent an email to you. You can track all of your various marketing efforts online with Google Analytics. It's kind of a compass for everything you do online. So those are the things that if you don't have on your website right now, contact your web geeks and get them. those are kind of the must-haves. Yes, sir.
Roger, Google Analytics, can that be used with other products besides Google? So can you use, if someone's tracking you through Yahoo, for example,
yep.
does Google Analytics?
So if somebody's searching on Yahoo and they see your business and click on it, Google Analytics will count that as somebody that referred them, was a referral to your website. Okay. And that's considered a source of traffic. So it basically will track anywhere that you are on the web. There's a lot of other analytics systems out there, Adobe, Amazon, but Google Analytics is free, and if you guys don't know by now, Google's kind of got the internet figured out. You know, they kind of have a hold on it. So the should-haves, some basic search engine optimization. That's what SEO stands for. There's things called meta tags, which is just a chunk of code in your website that tells Google what the page is about, aside from the existing content. When you do a search in Google and you see the little blue link and then the text below, those are your meta tags. So that's what Google shows as a search result is your meta tags. So those need to be done. Social proof is something that we're building into a lot of our websites. I mentioned before the power of Amazon reviews. There's this whole new thing that's actually come up in the psychology world that decisions are being made by people based off of what other people say, social proof. And so people will make a decision on how good your business is or how good your product is just based off of what a collective of other people say. So if they go to Google and they see, 15 one-star reviews, they're going to be like, oh, it's probably not a good company, And so if you have good reviews, or if you don't, collect them, and then display them on your website. So if you go to our website, what you'll see is you have the main message, and then right below that, there's a whole section of people saying how cool and awesome we are, because instantly reminds people, hey, these guys have some talent. Unique imagery and content should go without saying, but everybody in this room can recognize a stock photo when they see one. You know, you just can. And sometimes you have to use them as, you know, a web designer or a designer. We don't like to. Sometimes you have to. It's just a matter of necessity. But if you have the opportunity to invest in some good photography, do so. It's worth it. A clear call to action is one that's overlooked a lot of times. That's just telling people what you want them to do when they get to your website. Call us, email us, you know, click here to download this thing. We're, as internet users, we're almost patterned now to look for little blocks of color to do the things that we want to do on websites. And so when you see a little red button, your eyes go to it and make those calls to action, what you want people to do very clear. And then Google Search Console is just another back-end tool that Google allows you to hook your website up to for free to understand how you're showing up in search. And so usually that kind of stuff's left up to the web geeks, but if you take on your own website, these are some areas that you want to be aware of. This is Google's words on responsive web design. Believe it or not, there are still websites out there that have a separate mobile website and a separate desktop website. And Google basically said that that's not the way to go. And they've got more money than the US government, so they can kind of set standards for us like that. But if you ever go to redesign your website, anything like that, if they want to do anything other than a responsive web design, say no. And go that route. So Google Analytics, here's a screenshot. We talked a little bit about why it's important. This is a screenshot, it's the acquisition screenshot. When you're in there, it shows you how you acquired your website traffic. And so the words are kind of small probably back in the room, but it'll show you how many people came to your website from organic search, just going to Google and typing in certain terms, and then they find you. How many people went directly to your website? They typed in your website address and went to your website. How many people came from paid search, from the Google ads? Social media, referrals, other forms of advertising. And then you'll find out how many people are coming to your website from these various traffics. And then the really important part is over here, are they turning into customers? Are you getting leads out of each of those methods, right? So in the web geek world, we call those conversions. That's kind of the word that we use, or goal completions. For instance, paid search, if you're paying somebody $8 a click to get to your website, you want to know that they're turning into leads. And if they're not turning into leads, you want to stop paying that or find somebody else to manage it for you. So in each of these areas, that's what you use as your compass. If you're putting, you know, money in all of these different channels online, you want to be able to go and say, okay, which of them are turning into customers or into leads, and which ones aren't. So, any questions so far? The old days of having a web developer that built your website and then had to hand code in every single change to a website, and they were kind of like the wizard behind the curtain, those days are gone. Most of the time to set up a website right, you still need somebody with some experience, but the ability to update your website has got a whole lot easier. And so here's a bunch of the common platforms out there. Squarespace, Wix, a lot of common ones that new businesses will start up on. We develop all of our websites on WordPress just because you can do anything you want with it. It's a phenomenal platform, and it powers like 60% of the websites on the internet. There's a lot of websites on the internet. If you guys, whenever you Google something, you do a search term, it's like 1 out of 874 billion search results. There's a lot of websites out there, and WordPress powers 60% of them. And so when you go to build a website, really consider WordPress as an option for growth. We've got international manufacturers that have their website synced up to their inventory, so when somebody buys something online, it pulls from the inventory in their warehouse. And we also have, small retailers that just need a brochure website. So you can scale this thing as your business grows as well. And so that's important to know. A lot of these websites, we'll have clients come to us with Squarespace and Wix, and they're like, okay, we really want to start investing in our search engine and all this stuff. It's like, we kind of ran into some limitations. We need to rebuild the website. We just run into that. So if you want to build a website that's built for growth, WordPress is a really good option. So this is some of the basic stuff that we remembered. The primary and essential, it's got to be responsive design, analytics, and a way to update it easily. So those are the websites. Any questions on websites? Do you guys have a case study or an issue? Seeing none. Search. This is the golden triangle, if you will. This is where we need to be. We have our world changing, basically, based on how we're getting the information. Now, we are asking our smart speaker, hey, what's the local pizza place with 5 stars? Boom, we found Red Wing Brewery. Please contact us. Here's their phone number. All of that is pulled from search. All of the devices that we ask for information, Siri, all of those things that we're collecting, or consumers are collecting information from, are all pulling from search results. There's some statistics up there, and I won't read them, but you can instantly see a result in your business if you go from not any search exposure to having search exposure. You'll start seeing more website traffic, which in turn turns into more leads, more people in your marketing funnel. And so there's 2 different types of search that we're going to cover. We're going to cover local search and organic search, and we'll go over the details here in just a little bit. So local search is local. It's based off of your coordinates. It's based off of where you're at. A lot of times this is based from a mobile device. Google knows where you're located, where your GPS is at, so it can say, okay, I know within a 25-mile radius the closest business is around there. That's kind of why it's called local search. But also when you're on a desktop, it'll know your IP address and it'll know roughly what's around you. So the Google My Business listing is the most important aspect of SEO when it comes to local SEO. It's like I said in one of the first slides, it basically has replaced the Yellow Pages. This is where people go to find something to do, read reviews, see who's good, who's not. Local citations is a fancy way of saying online directories. Like the Yellow Pages online is just basically an online directory. And a citation is when you put your name, address, phone, and a link to your website on some directory. Google sees all of those directories and sees that all that information is consistent, and then it will help you with your search presence. On-page optimization we'll get into. That's just having the right keywords on your website and the content. Backlinks. Anybody familiar with backlinks? Aside from you, Bo, because I know you know. When a website links to yours, Google takes that as kind of a stamp of recommendation. So if I got a link to my website from the New York Times, Google is going to look at my website and be like, wow, the New York Times linked to Roger's website. He must have a really good website. And so the more of those high quality links that you get back to your website from high authority websites raises your profile in Google's eyes. It's not the only thing, but it is a significant factor. Online reviews will consistently put you in a category up there. That's why I said if you're going to collect reviews, collect them on Google. And then some social signals can help you in local search if people are sharing your content, talking about you on social, those kinds of things. So directory listings, like I said, these are those things where you could spend days and days and days filling out directory listings and answering the phone and entering in the code or getting a postcard and entering in the code to claim all of these listings. There's services out there you can do it for like $30 a month, and you just go out there and it'll claim like the top 70 directories, and then you don't have to worry about the majority of them. Some of the big ones out there, Google, Bing, Yelp. You have data aggregators like InfoUSA, where you update your business listing on there, and it populates thousands of other websites because they rent their data from places like InfoUSA. So, knowing that there's all these directories out there, the question is, well, do I really need to do it? I searched for Seavers Creative Red Wing, Minnesota. All of those arrows are some sort of online directory. So they kind of populate the search results with all of these different profiles, if you will, directory listings. And so they are important. It's a matter of, I don't know if you call it reputation cleanup or reputation management. If you've ever moved, changed phone numbers, any of those types of things, this becomes even more important to make sure that you have consistent information across the web. If you have inconsistent information on, let's say, 50 or 60 different websites out there, Google will look at it and be like, well, I don't know which listing to show because I don't know which one's accurate. But if they're all consistent, Google will use your business and raise you up in the rankings. So online directories are important. And that's probably one of the main things when it comes to local search. It's a Google My Business listing and then getting all your directories all in sync. Organic search results are not based on your geography. So if your business is national or regional or international, you want to focus on your organic search results. And those are all of the search results that happen underneath the map. That's where the organic search results start. Quality content is number one. You got to have good content. Minimum of 350 words per page. If your website pages are light, there's less chance that they will show up in Google searches. The on-page optimization is really just having somebody who knows how to optimize a website for the search engines and then having that content written for such. If you want people to find you when they're searching for marketing companies, right? It'd be pretty wise to have language in there about marketing companies. Kind of goes without saying, but that type of content writing is important. User experience, if your website is clunky or if it doesn't work, Google Search Console will actually send you errors and say, oh, sorry, your little buttons are too close together on a mobile phone or a mobile device. So how the website works is important, and then we covered backlinks and reviews and social signals. All that stuff plays into organic as well. So how important is organic search results? Well, studies show that the first position on any given keyword will get 30% of the clicks for that keyword. So we're a marketing company, so we have the best interest of when somebody searches for marketing company that we come up first because we want 30% of those clicks, right? As you can see, as you get down to position 2, 14%, position 3, about 10%. When you get down to the bottom of the first page, you're at about 1 or 2% of the clicks for that term, right? And we all search and we all use Google, so we know how often we go to the second page, not very often. And so for search engine optimization, ultimately you want to be in the top 3 positions for a keyword, but getting to the first page is in and of itself a good accomplishment as well. So these right here, we've got a client that does, they build high-end conservatories, and that's not a local search kind of a thing. And so we worked on their organic search results and got them up to the top 3 in a variety of terms, and all of a sudden they're getting leads nationally now. And so, because for them, that's a national business. And so this was the best place for them to put their ad dollars or their marketing dollars. Yes, sir?
Roger, how often do you have to continue to work on that? I put my website together, and do searches, and I just can't get to the first page, so you got to continue to tweak it and use different content?
Yes and no. If I were to say no, it'd be inaccurate, but if I were to say yes, it'd be inaccurate. There's about 200 things that Google says it uses in its algorithm to determine if your website is of high quality. And so content is one of them. But essentially, you're trying to build your reputation in Google's eyes, right? So just by changing the content, it'd be like me and you knowing each other as business professionals, and I just kept changing my clothes to try and impress you. Eventually you'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm kind of onto you, Roger. You've worn that black shirt 3 times. So, having high-quality backlinks to your website is important. So acquiring backlinks. Having content that's written the right way is important. Having reviews, having video content that's out there that's optimized is huge. Press releases out to press release distribution places. There's just a ton of different things.
So it would be hard to do it on your own.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's doable. It's going to take some study, but if you want to get there, let's put it this way: if everybody could get to the top of Google easy, everybody would be at the top of the Google, and all you'd see is pharmaceutical companies and Russian dating websites. That's they'd be up there for every term that you search for. You can get up there, but it takes it takes a little bit of work. So. Yeah.
Now, is this the same as, because this SEO is a new term to me.
Yep.
Is this basically what you're talking about?
Search engine optimization.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, today I was at a SCORE seminar, and one of the gals on there suggested that in order to continue to get your website, looked at and not ignored by Google, was that she goes on it monthly and does tweaking or changing or adds things, she said, because then it tells Google that it's a person, is
Yep.
what she referred to it as, versus just computer generated and it just sits there.
Sure.
So is that something that's correct? Is that a correct statement?
That's one of the factors, yes.
Okay.
So part of it is the freshness of content, right? If there's, let's say, 2 marketing companies in Red Wing and I'm searching, one of them updated their website last week and the other updated their website 2 years ago, there's a good chance with the fresher content is going to be more relevant to the person searching. So it's one of the factors that they use. So a timely and relevant blog can be really helpful for that when you're adding new content to a website. Search engine optimization can be kind of volatile too, so sometimes the keywords go up and go down, and so sometimes in response to whatever your position is, it may require some rewriting and some tweaking and stuff like that. But just without any strategic purpose, moving things around and adding and stuff like that doesn't really accomplish a whole lot, other than that one factor of keeping it fresh, so.
I do want to reiterate too, Roger, or maybe you could talk about it a little bit. As a small business owner, you're running your business. You've got a lot of things to do that day.
Yeah.
And, it's difficult to just continue to update on a regular basis your website.
Mm-hmm.
I've told people have that blog within your website, so then you can at least update some of those key things that you really want to do, and then it counts as an update.
Yep.
Like offering specials, or when there's a sale, this week, or whatever. So, try to keep that update piece simple, so it doesn't take all your time.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because usually with a small business, you're the accountant, you're the HR person, you're the web designer, you're the marketing person, all of those things. So, yeah, absolutely. Social media. So, we still get asked a lot to present on social media. And for us, we always think like, gosh, social media really? But there's still a lot of people that need to figure it out, because there's, if you Google how to do social media correct, there's so many videos and tutorials, and it's kind of just easy to get lost. So in this presentation, we're kind of going to go run through the basics. So if you guys, have active pages that you manage, some of this will be kind of rudimentary to you, but it's good to kind of cover the bases. Social media, I guess the one thing that I would say about it is always look at your social media as if it's actually a social environment. When you post things, you don't want to just post a random offer. You wouldn't walk into a cocktail party and be like, hey, 2 for 1's at my place. You'd be like, well, that's kind of weird. Why'd you just throw that out there? People go onto these places to engage with businesses, to engage with other people. So, and the more you can have a meaningful conversation and things like that, the better. Now, that's kind of the social aspect of it. There's some advertising aspects of it that we'll get into as well that are a necessary component of that. But your average social media presence should have some type of engagement strategy to it. These are the main channels, if you will. LinkedIn, if you're a business-to-business company, you should be on LinkedIn. You should find a way to figure it out, take a tutorial, pay for a $60 class if you need to. But LinkedIn has not ratcheted down their algorithm, meaning that all the people that you connect with and follow you, when you post, they will see it. And generally, that isn't the case with Facebook. We'll get into that in a little bit. So if you're in B2B space, LinkedIn is absolutely essential. Facebook is just the behemoth and the gorilla in the room, if you will. So it's almost become an issue of credibility if you have a Facebook page or don't. And so if you don't have a Facebook page, people actually be like, gosh, are they legit? Like everybody has a Facebook page. Twitter is kind of the ADD of social media, and I haven't really found many successful ways to get results for a business out of Twitter. And we've tried advertising campaigns, we've tried engaging, giveaways, you name it. We've tried every strategy, and just don't really find much there. So to me, the future of Twitter is kind of to be determined. Instagram is the largest platform on the planet for millennials. So if that is your target, you need to find a way to have visual content. Imagery is really important because it's just a visual platform. You can do some pretty neat things there. Spoiler alert, Facebook owns Instagram. so there's that, but it also makes the advertising across both platforms pretty seamless as well. YouTube is owned by Google, but it is the second largest search engine on the planet, ahead of Google. Google owns them both, right? But you know, people often don't look at YouTube like a social media platform, but you like, share, comment, follow, all of the same things that you do on any other platform, but with video. Snapchat is, if you're looking to get to any consumers under 25, you're going to need to find a way to get to Snapchat because that's where they are. All of the younger generations are fleeing away from Facebook because that's where all the, you know, the parents and the grandparents are now apparently in the marketing world. That's what they're talking about. Pinterest is kind of this underground society that was created by a handful of wives to cause projects for their husbands. It's kind of where that one came from. It can be a really good channel if you have consumers that spend a lot of time dreaming about a project. Like if you have a landscape project that costs $100,000, people don't just pull the trigger and start a $100,000 project. You know, they'll spend time finding ideas and doing idea shopping and window shopping. And so if your business is anywhere in that space, having a Pinterest presence could be a wise idea. Red Wing Shoes done some really good stuff on Pinterest where they've got a lot of their followers to post pictures of their stuff from around the world. So they kind of created this little online Pinterest gallery and community almost of people advocating for their brand. So really neat channel for that. For the purpose of this presentation, we're going to focus on these three. When we sit down with a client, we always say, okay, who are you trying to target? What's their age? Where are they located? What are they interested in? What do they do online? And then we start targeting from there. And so a lot of the times when we pick social channels, it's based off either the content or the demographic of the people that they're trying to target. And so, like I said before, 25 and under, Snapchat. You know, the 20 to 35, kind of when you're starting to get into that millennial range, Instagram is it. 35 plus, Facebook's a great channel. That's where the bulk of people are. Doesn't mean that there's not some spillover, because there certainly is. But as a general rule of thumb, you can use this to find the people you're looking for. So best posting practices. This should go without saying, but video is more popular than anything else on Facebook. It's easier to watch. There's some tactics with video. If you're posting video on Facebook, generally the sound is off. So a lot of times you'll scroll through Facebook and you'll see a video and you'll see the words come across, because that's their way of getting around not having any audio for somebody, and then once they're interested, they click on it. But that's the most engaging type of posting on Facebook. A question, again, I talked about it before, people want to engage. They want to talk to people. They want to have their opinion. And if you guys are on Facebook, you know that people have their opinions a little all too often. You know, sometimes it gets a little carried away, but they want to engage. Photos, and then, you know, giveaway links, coupons, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's something visual. Something visual should be posted on Facebook if you want some kind of engagement. So we talked about on the website a call to action. A call to action is something to remember in every avenue of marketing that you do. You want to tell people what you want them to do. For Facebook posts, we're starting to see better results for posts that are under 50 characters. Like really, as you're scrolling, you can read it without having to really completely stop. And if it catches your interest, you know, if you have to see the little see more button, unless you're really interested, you're not going to take the time to stop and do it. This was an ad that has the call to action, the urgency, shop now, and a very, very successful ad campaign. So keep it short. When I mentioned before that LinkedIn doesn't ratchet down your reach and exposure, Facebook did when they had to become a big company and they went public. You know, they had to start actually making revenue, you know, and support their investors. So what they did was when you posted, it didn't reach all 100,000 of your viewers anymore, your followers. When you would post, it would only reach 5 to 8% of them. But then they said, hey, if you'd like to reach the rest, you just have to buy some advertising. And so that's how their business model came to be. It made a lot of people mad when they came out and did it, but at the end of the day, if they wanted to survive, you kind of have to. So when you post something to your Facebook page, know that without any other interaction or any other engagement, it's going to reach between 5 and 8% of the people who follow you. So if you have about 1,000 followers, you're going to, on average, a post that nobody likes, shares, or comments, between 50 and 80, maybe 100 people will see that post. Now, every time it gets liked, shared, commented on, the reach grows a little farther, but in general, you'll see roughly that type of a reach. So anytime that we do Facebook for any of our clients, we automatically include ads in all of them. And there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. We'll talk about some of them. But knowing that, your Facebook post, it's in of itself is not going to grow your business. You're going to have, unless you have 20,000, 30,000 followers, and you've got a good likelihood that people are going to engage with it. But having some type of a budget set aside. Some of our customers have like $50 a month that they set aside for Facebook, just so the stuff that they post, more of their followers see it. But having something set aside for that. So the advertising, we're gonna touch base a little bit on this. Who here has done Facebook ads for themselves or their business or exposure? 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Well, then this will be timely. There's 2 different ways to advertise. There's the easy way, and then there's the super complicated way, and we're going to go over the super easy way. So when you're logged into your website, down on the bottom left, you'll see a promote button, and that will pull up the screen for you to find all of the ways that you can advertise with Facebook. The complicated way is when you upgrade to Ads Manager. Facebook Ads Manager is kind of like an agency dashboard, and it gets really complicated from there. And so if you're not super comfortable with Facebook and somebody says you should upgrade to Ad Manager, think twice. Basically they simplify it for you. What are you trying to do with this ad? Do you want conversions or website purchases? Do you want to boost a post just so more people can see it? Do you have an event? Do you want to get more leads? All of these different things are kind of objective-based, if you will, types of advertising. So I think for the one that I did, I clicked Boost Post for this example. So you click the one that you want to do, and then you go through all of these targeting options, and we'll walk through a couple of them just so you know how to do this. But essentially, Facebook they're a data company. They're not really a social media company, right? A lot of people, if you ask them, what's Facebook? Oh, they're a social media company. It's like, well, it's free, and it's kind of like the old joke where there's 2 pigs in a barn and they're saying, hey, this is so great. We get free food, we get free room and board, we get free water. But the odds are if everything that you're using is free, you're not the consumer, you're the product, right? And so with Facebook, we're their product. All of the data, all of the things that we like and share and do on Facebook is tracked, and then they use all of that data so that advertisers like us can target the right consumer. And so when you think about Facebook, think about it that they have in their database, in many cases, the intimate details of people's lives. When they brush their teeth, what kind of cat photos they like, how old their kids are, all of these things are stored in Facebook's database. And so as an advertiser, sometimes to the consumer that's kind of creepy, but to the advertiser it's super effective. So for here, you can see up on the top right, we'll walk through this interface a little bit. You can preview what your ad will look like on all of these different platforms, right? Facebook desktop, Facebook mobile, Instagram stories, Facebook Messenger, Facebook Marketplace, when people are searching for products to buy, the new Craigslist, if you will. And you can preview what your ad looks like on all of those. Then you move into the targeting aspect, and you define the geography that you want to be. So you put in the city, you put in the radius, or you put in multiple cities, whatever your target demographic is, where they're located. The bigger the area, the more money you have to spend to be effective. That's kind of the way it works. If you were to spend $50 to $100 a month here in Red Wing, you'd probably do pretty well. You'd have a pretty good exposure. But as you start getting into the metro areas, that budget needs to go up. And so you start adding in some interest. People who, through their online behavior, indicate that they're interested in outdoor recreation, or a trolling motor for fishing, because they like to troll. That's how they like to fish. You know, what types of cars they drive. You can do income levels, as long as you're not into the housing market, because there's the gentrification argument and stuff like that, so they don't let you target people by income. But if you have a high-end luxury product, you can show your ads just to people who are in the top 1% of income earners. That's attractive, right? If you're business to business, you can find an interest and serve ads to people who are Facebook page admins, just other businesses, right? People are interested in small business, those types of things. So a lot of people will also use this for recruiting, because you can hire people based off of what their job title is, because they put their job title in Facebook. So if you say, I'm looking for somebody who's a mechanical engineer somewhere in the Twin Cities, you'd put in job title, mechanical engineer, put your thing out there, and then put a job application ad up, and boom, you're serving application ads to the right candidate. So you define your audience through all the you know, significant data that Facebook has on the consumers out there, and then you figure out what your budget's going to be. They'll tell you roughly how many people you're going to reach, and you got some pretty fuzzy math, because it's between 400 and 1,000, so somewhere in there, right? But that also depends on how many people are going to like, comment, share, and engage with it as well. Will determine how much reach that is. But in some of these cases, if you have a small radius, you can spend $5 a day, $3 a day. You know, I mean, it can be a cup of coffee. It really can be a pretty small budget if you're in a small area. So that's basically the basics of it. You create your ad, you define your audience, and you set your budget. And then from there, Facebook makes it pretty easy to give them money. They'll send you reminders and all of those things. So if you haven't tried Facebook ads, do so. Give it $5, give it $10, give it a whirl, and see what it does for you. So now we're going to get into the rest of the stuff that's happening on the internet. We covered kind of the basics: website, search, and social. Those are kind of the big three. If you get a handle on all three of those, you'll be doing pretty well. Those are kind of the main three that you have to have an exposure, and you have to have a position in to be found in today's world. All right, so we talked about search engine optimization. Search engine marketing, or pay-per-click, is the reason why Google has more money than the US government. You basically pay to be at the top of the search results for any given key. It works like a real-time bidding system, where you have 10 advertisers, usually a lot more, but 10 advertisers that are all willing to pay $4 per click to get that keyword. And then if somebody's willing to pay $4.50, that person gets to go up. You know, and it basically on who's going to be paying at the time, you get to pull that. There's some other things that help rank where you are in their basic quality of the page and stuff like that. But a lot of times it comes down to what you're willing to pay. These can range from, we've got customers that spend $70 a click, and we got customers that spend like $25, $30 per click, based on how competitive those keywords are. So when you go to pay per click, you kind of have to have, like a company mind would ask you, okay, well, how much is your average customer worth? And how much are you willing to pay to acquire that customer, right? So if your average sale is $3,000 and you've got a 25% margin, you've got what, $1,250, something like that is what your profit is. If it's going to cost you $800 to get that customer, it's probably not worth it. You'd probably want your cost per acquisition for that customer somewhere around $200. Would you pay $200 to make $1,250? Yeah, all day long. We do that and slowly grow the business. So you kind of have to know what you're getting into to know how you can calculate an ROI with pay-per-click. It can work really well for some businesses, and it can just be a place to dump money for other businesses. So it's definitely worth trying for sure. So programmatic online display is a fancy way of saying banner ad. Basically all that is. All of these banner ads that you see on the internet are targeted based off of a whole bunch of data that's collected and stored in databases about us across the internet. And so when these ads are out there, you'll always notice they're coming up at the right time. They're coming up because you were searching for something. They were coming up and they have an odd timing about them that they're relevant to you based off things you've been doing recently. You'll start searching for mortgage rates, and all of a sudden you'll start seeing mortgage rate ads kind of follow you around. Almost everything that we do on the internet is tracked and stored in some sort of a database, and so the data can be used by advertisers to do what's called search retargeting. That's people that are searching for things out on the web, and then they start seeing ads everywhere they go based off of what they're searching because it shows intent. It shows something that they're looking for. Contextual retargeting, if people are reading reviews on a certain product, right? That's a signal of interest. They might be in the market for that, so they could start seeing ads for that product. Behavioral targeting is a combination of all of the above. Demographic targeting, you can target ads to people based on their age range, their income level, where they're located, what their search behavior is, all of those things you can target those ads to people by. Cross-device targeting, if I'm searching for something on my desktop computer and my mobile phone is also connected to the internet, I can search for something, I can go home later that night and all of a sudden the ad pops up on my mobile device. You're like, they just won't leave me alone, right? So that's cross-device. And then geofencing is where you draw a circle around any small area and then deliver ads to people while they're on their phones within that radius. And so that's based off of mobile GPS targeting. So, and you can get all those all the way down to the 5th decimal point, down to like a 3.5 foot circle. It's kind of crazy how accurate they are these days. Site retargeting is probably one you guys are most familiar with. Everybody's gone to Amazon and then left Amazon and started seeing Amazon ads everywhere you go to remind you to finish buying that product. That's site retargeting. It's really effective. About 95% of the people that come to your website don't convert, they don't call you, they don't email, they just come look at your website and they leave. Retargeting allows you to stay in front of those consumers for 30 to 60 days by showing them ads. And you know that they're somewhat interested because they found their way to your website in some regard. So it's a way to keep your brand in front of people that have already signaled interest and already made it to your website. Email marketing. So back when Facebook made that big change, there was a lot of people who lost their exposure and their advertising platform almost overnight. If you had 100,000 followers, every time you posted something, you had a boost of revenue because you had 100,000 people that would see your message. Well, when that went away, there was businesses that just literally went out of business because they couldn't pay for the reach for it anymore. And so email is one of the platforms that we're advocating that people should have an email list, and they should be collecting emails from their current customers, from prospective customers, because whether you like it or not, email is not going anywhere anytime soon. Everybody you know has an email and they use it daily. And so there's a bunch of different ways that you can use email. You can do third-party lists where you send an email to 50,000 people of all the the demographic makeup and all that. There's the list where you collect emails and send what people usually use as like a quarterly newsletter or something like that. But it can be a way to consistently engage with people when you have something of value to offer. And this is one that can't be pulled away if they change the way that they're doing things. So if you don't have an email list right now, start building one, and they can serve you well down the road. Connected TV and connected audio. We touched on this before, but this really is the cord-cutting generation. There's a lot of advertisers that come to us and say, hey, we're trying to get to those people that are in their 30s. I'm like, yeah, so is everybody else. That's the young families. And so connected TV, all of the smart apps, the Hulus of the world, the ABCs of the world, the CBS, all have an app that you can download on a smart TV. And all of those commercials can be bought and delivered the same way that you would any of the other advertising that we've been talking about. You say, I'm looking to advertise to people in this zip code. Right now we've got a haunted house that we run all the marketing for, and we're delivering connected TV ads to people in the Twin Cities who have watched horror movies within the past 30 days. Pretty good audience, right? Those are pretty likely candidates for them. This one is probably one of the fastest growing segments in the marketing world right now, and next year we're expecting to see this the capabilities here really kind of blow up. When it comes to cross-device targeting, being able to watch something on TV, see an ad, and then later see it on your phone because you saw a TV commercial, those types of connections. So you can see, some of the stats up there. Millennial, any kind of a millennial, those cord cutters, if you're trying to get to them, you got to find some way to get on some type of a streaming media along with search and social. So that's where things are going, kind of what we talked about at the very first slide, when we had the TV up there, the radio, the Yellow Pages, all of those things have kind of turned into different channels now. And so the problem or the challenge that we all have as advertisers or businesses is that none of these people are all in the same place, right? Before, it was just four channels. You could pick them out and you'd find your customers. Well, nobody's in the same place anymore. The consumer is really fragmented. So you kind of have to be strategic about where you're going to advertise, where you're going to market, and find out which channels are going to be right for your audience. So, so marketing takes a little bit more of a sharper eye than it used to, but it's not something that you have to have a marketing company for either. I don't want to paint that picture at all. But you do have to kind of have a really good idea of who your customer is and then have a rough idea where to find them. So with that, that's all I got. So, questions?
Where would you suggest that we advertise to target people 60 plus?
Depends on what it's for. There's some good use cases on Facebook, but that demographic's gonna be less likely to trust anything online. That's the demographic that still, depending on the affluency of them, will still buy the paper, the local paper. So there's an option there, local radio possibly, depending on the reach and the actual geographic area.
And that's what I was thinking, and then also, how do you feel about the phone book?
And I don't like to say anything bad about any other business, but, when's the last time any of us ever used a phone book?
Well, that's what I'm saying,
You know,
that's
60
70,
plus.
year-old people.
Yep.
That's a lot of times where they still look.
Where they have it. And so we haven't found many use cases to keep any marketing dollars in them. We have a bank that has a location down, I think in Laverne, Minnesota, I believe, and they're still spending $1,400 a year on their ad in the Yellow Pages, or the phone book deal. And when we said, yeah, how many people that go to? It goes to 10,000 people or whatever. It's like, we can reach 10,000 people for like $12 on Facebook. So that. And with Facebook, we've got the age targeting too, and so you could literally just target people who are 60 years old on Facebook that are interested in whatever it is you're trying to sell as well. So I would.
I just know that some of my customers that came in at my previous employment didn't do emails and didn't do Facebook, and
Okay.
so just to kind of let them know what services in church. And I've met with Mark a few times, and we've talked about like church.
Bulletins.
Directories,
Yep.
bulletins and things like that as well.
Yep, where the coffee collections happen and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Those can be important places. They're harder to get into unless you know where they are. But Facebook can offer you a really cheap way to test messaging too. You can go on there for $20 and have 2 different ads that run for 4 or 5 days in a small little area. Spend $10 an ad and see which one of them, if any of them, produce anything. So a lot of companies, before they invest, let's say $250,000 on an ad campaign, will have us do some Facebook messaging and say, okay, we need 10 different ads. Which one of these messaging get the most engagement? And then they run and take that and duplicate that across their other marketing channels. So you could at least test the waters there.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Anything else?
Roger, what happens, I've had a couple of clients that got bad reviews.
Yep.
For whatever reasons. There was a landlord-tenant relationship that went bad, and
Yeah.
the tenant went on Facebook and really
Lit them up.
some damage.
Jeez.
What's the response there from the small business owner, or you read them, and you get a bad hotel stay, or bed bugs or whatever. I mean, you have to react to that.
Yeah.
And I think as a small business owner, you just can't ignore that, right?
Yeah.
So you respond immediately,
Yep.
you respond in the proper way,
It has less to do with the person who is leaving the bad review and more to do with the person who is following up and may come and search your business and find you 2 weeks from now that will read your response to them. That's who you should be writing it for. You're never going to change the mind of somebody who had a bad experience. Sometimes you can. Our approach is always to go in there and say, hey, we're so sorry that you had a bad experience. We'd love to make it right. Here's our phone number. Give us a call and we'll make this, we'll fix this problem. So that the next person who comes down 2 weeks down the road says, oh, look at that. They had a problem. They fixed it right away. So you have to respond. The first instance is just be like, it's like, and we've had customers that have gotten crappy reviews that weren't even legit. People were going in just to be mean and spiteful. And in the same case, I said, don't write the review or the response to them. Write it for the person who's going to be reading it. And people kind of know that there's always one jerk in every room. There's always that one guy in the family that just has something bad to say. And so when people read reviews, part of that social proof that we talked about before, people know that there's always going to be some one-star reviews.
Can
So.
you request to take a review off because it just simply is not true?
You can, yeah. We've done that we had a client that there were some switch ups in management, and there was a bad breakup between partners, and then there was all this. They had like this campaign that they had all their friends go write nasty reviews and just say the business was terrible and all that stuff. And so Google kind of lets the community monitor those reviews, right? So we just built up a small army of people to go in there and flag them as spam, basically. And you can click on it and say this review is inappropriate or contains hateful speech or whatever. It's spam or it's an advertisement. And then if enough people click that, the review will go away. Our take on it is to not lose your authenticity as a business, but show your customer service unless you know that the review is not good. If it's like not even a legit business or a legit review, then you can kind of play the same game and flag it as spam and have it taken down. So, but there really isn't a good way other than that. So keep like 50 people that you know in your back pocket in case you ever run into that problem. And you can say, all right, everybody, I need you guys to go flag this thing as spam. So, so hopefully it was helpful. And if you have any questions, I'll be around for a little bit. So.